Hi, I'm Dr. Laura Berman, and today we're diving deep into a question many women ask: why do we sometimes find ourselves drawn to the man who walks away? There's a real, powerful reason behind this pattern, and understanding it can transform how you experience love, connection, and self-worth. So, let's explore what's really going on beneath the surface, and how you can create the kind of relationship you truly deserve.
Number 1, chasing lowers your value, and this is one of the most important things every man needs to understand when it comes to attraction. One of the biggest reasons women lose interest is because the man starts chasing too hard. The moment you start chasing, you're telling her, without even realizing it, that you need her more than she needs you. And that flips the natural, healthy dynamic completely. Instead of being seen as a confident man who has options and standards, you become the guy desperately seeking approval, waiting anxiously for her attention, and trying to prove that you're worth her time. This kind of behavior instantly lowers your value in her eyes because it signals insecurity and neediness, and attraction simply can't thrive there. Attraction is built on strength, confidence, and emotional control, qualities that disappear the moment you start chasing. When you chase, you lose your power. You end up reacting to her moods, her schedule, and her actions, always trying to catch up, always hoping that your extra effort will somehow make her choose you. But here's the truth: women aren't attracted to men who beg for their attention. They are magnetically drawn to men who know their worth, who are selective with their time and energy, and who don't give themselves away too easily. When a man chases, he's silently telling her that she's the prize, and he's the one hoping to be chosen. That's not a position of power, it's a position of weakness. Imagine you meet a woman, and after a few great conversations, she starts pulling back a little. Maybe she takes longer to reply to your texts or cancels plans last minute. The Indians' typical reaction for most men is to panic, to text more, call more, try harder to fix the situation, believing that if they just put in more effort, things will turn around. But here's the catch: all this extra effort only shows her that you're more invested than she is. It removes all tension and mystery, and without mystery, there is no desire. She feels no challenge, no reason to pursue, because you're doing all the work for her. Now let's flip the script. She pulls back, and you respond by calmly pulling back as well. You don't chase, you don't beg, you simply match her energy. Suddenly, she's not sure where she stands with you. This creates space and uncertainty, and that uncertainty sparks curiosity. She begins to wonder why you're not reacting like every other guy she's met, and that curiosity reignites her interest. The less you chase, the more she feels your absence, and often it's that absence that fuels attraction. Men need to stop equating effort with attraction, because effort alone doesn't build desire. What truly attracts is strength, self-respect, and emotional independence. A man who refuses to chase sets himself apart instantly. He's no longer just another option, he becomes the prize. Number 2, her mind reacts to distance. Women are emotionally wired to respond to distance in a very specific and powerful way. When you pull back and create space, something shifts inside her mind. She starts thinking about you more, questioning her own feelings, and wondering why you're not chasing her like most men would. This isn't about playing games or tricks. It's simply how human psychology works. When something feels slightly out of reach, the mind naturally becomes more focused on it. The space you create isn't empty to her, it's filled with unanswered questions. Why isn't he calling? Why hasn't he reached out? Has he lost interest? That uncertainty keeps you active in her thoughts. Most men don't allow this process to unfold. The moment they sense distance from a woman, they panic. They rush to fill the silence, afraid they might lose her. But ironically, by doing that, they interrupt the very natural process that could have drawn her closer. Women need that space to feel the emotional tension that makes them question what they're really feeling. Without that space, there's no room for desire to grow or deepen. Distance also signals value. When you pull back, you demonstrate that your attention isn't something you give away freely. You show that you have your own life, your own priorities, and you're not dependent on her for your emotional fulfillment. That self-control makes you more desirable because you're not trying to force anything or prove your worth. Women are used to men who over-pursue men who flood them with texts, calls, and attention. The man who stays calm and allows her to come to him stands out immediately. She starts seeing him as someone who operates from a place of strength, not desperation. That contrast is incredibly powerful because it creates an emotional tension she doesn't get from men who are always available. Distance also allows her to feel a form of loss, even if it's temporary. The possibility that you might actually move on makes her reassess your value. She begins to fear losing access to you, which naturally increases her emotional investment. It's important to understand that this reaction doesn't always happen instantly. Sometimes it takes time for her to feel your absence and start reflecting on what she might lose. But the key is to allow that distance to work in your favor without interfering. When you stay calm, give her space, and maintain your self-respect, you allow her natural instincts to take over. Her mind does the work for you. The more she wonders about you, the more emotionally engaged she becomes. And that emotional engagement is what makes her start pursuing you instead. Number 3, loss creates urgency, and this is one of the most powerful emotional triggers for anyone, but especially for women. When a woman senses she might lose access to you, her entire mindset shifts. What once felt casual or safe suddenly becomes urgent. She starts questioning whether she made the right choices and feels the pressure to act before it's too late. The fear of losing something valuable creates a completely different kind of desire than simply having it easily available all the time. This is where many men make a crucial mistake. They believe that by constantly being present, always reaching out, and showing consistent interest, she will appreciate them more. But the reality is often the opposite. When she knows you'll always be there no matter how she behaves, there's no urgency for her to invest or commit. Loss forces her to reconsider everything. When you pull back and she realizes you're willing to walk away, it breaks the comfort zone she's been living in. She's no longer in full control of the situation. Suddenly, she starts wondering if someone else might get your attention, if you found someone better, or if you finally stopped waiting for her. These thoughts create emotional pressure, and that pressure often sparks stronger feelings than your constant presence ever could. Women naturally value what feels scarce. When you were always available, she didn't have to think about losing you. The moment you show that you're not afraid to step back and let her go, she feels that scarcity deeply. Your time, attention, and energy are no longer guaranteed, and that makes them far more valuable in her eyes. Now, this urgency doesn't mean she instantly panics or comes running back every time. Sometimes it works slowly, eating away at her thoughts over days or weeks. But that growing fear of loss keeps you on her mind. The uncertainty makes her replay moments she had with you, question why you've distanced yourself, and wonder if she needs to act before you fully slip away. Most men never give women the chance to experience this kind of emotional urgency because they're too scared to pull back. They fear that if they step away, she simply move on. But the truth is, your willingness to walk away often triggers a level of respect and desire that chasing never will. The key is to allow her to feel that sense of loss while you remain calm, centered, and focused on your own life. You don't need to play games or create fake distance. Simply stop over-investing when she's not matching your energy. That space gives her mind room to recognize what she's risking by not choosing you. When she feels that urgency, the dynamic shifts completely. Now, she's the one questioning, investing, and pursuing, not because you forced it, but because the emotional pressure of potential loss made her wake up. Number 4, men who stay become replaceable. This is a crucial lesson that many men need to understand. Staying too long in a situation where a woman isn't fully investing makes you lose value fast. The more you stick around without seeing clear effort from her side, the easier it becomes for her to view you as just another option. And once she starts seeing you that way, you become completely replaceable in her mind. Many men think that by sticking it out, by being loyal, patient, and always available, they're proving their worth. They believe that the longer they stay, the more she appreciates them. But the reality is often the opposite. Instead of valuing your loyalty, she becomes comfortable with your presence and assumes you'll always be there, no matter what she does. The moment a woman feels guaranteed access to you, she stops seeing you as a man she needs to secure. You're no longer a challenge, no longer a man with options, no longer a man she needs to earn. You're just there, always available, always waiting, always hoping. And that image strips away the very qualities that create strong attraction in the first place. Attraction is built on value and tension. When you stay in her life without requiring equal investment, she knows she doesn't have to work for your attention. She can keep you around while exploring other options, confident you won't walk away. This makes her emotionally lazy because she has no fear of losing you, and without that fear, her attraction fades. The more available you are, the more predictable you become. Predictability feels safe, but safety rarely triggers deep desire. Women desire men who hold themselves to a standard, men who won't sit around waiting for someone to make up their mind. That kind of strength communicates high value because it shows you respect yourself enough not to accept half-hearted effort. This is why you'll often see women chase the man who is willing to walk away, while showing little interest in the man who stayed. The one who left maintained his self-respect and emotional independence. The one who stayed signaled that his self-worth depended on her choices. As a man, you have to recognize when your presence has turned into a comfort zone for her. If she's not meeting your effort, if she's stringing you along, if she's showing minimal interest while keeping you emotionally invested, you're becoming replaceable without even realizing it. The strongest position you can take is knowing when to walk away. By doing so, you force her to confront the reality of losing you. If she truly values you, that fear will push her to step up. If she doesn't, then you've protected yourself from wasting more time. Remaining too long isn't loyalty, it's self-sabotage. Respect yourself enough to leave before you become another man she easily replaces. Number 5, walking away triggers her ego. A woman's ego plays a much bigger role in attraction than most men realize. It's not always about love, chemistry, or compatibility. Sometimes it's simply about her sense of pride and control. And one of the fastest ways to challenge that ego is by walking away. When you walk away from a woman, especially after she's grown used to your presence, it challenges her internal sense of power. She may have felt confident knowing you were always available, always responsive, always chasing. But the moment you remove yourself from that dynamic, her ego takes a hit. She's no longer in control of the situation, and that stings more than most men understand. Women often like to feel desired. Your attention reassures them of their attractiveness, value, and desirability. Even if they don't want a serious relationship with you, they still enjoy having you orbit around them because it feeds their ego. This isn't always conscious or malicious, it's simply how human nature operates. When you pull that attention away, she feels the gap immediately. Not because she suddenly realizes she loves you, but because her ego is no longer being fed. She starts wondering why you're no longer chasing, why you're no longer giving her that consistent attention, and why you seem unaffected. That creates a kind of discomfort she wasn't expecting. Let's say you've been texting back and forth with a woman for weeks. She's been hot and cold, some days very engaged, other days distant. You notice she's not really investing equally. Instead of continuing to initiate and keep the conversations alive, you stop. You don't get angry, you don't explain yourself. You simply become less available. Suddenly, she starts reaching out more. She sends messages like, "Hey, haven't heard from you?" Or, "Are you okay?" She's not necessarily trying to commit to anything serious, but her ego is reacting to the loss of attention. She wants to regain the feeling of being desired. Your absence created a void that her ego wants to fill. This is where most men fail. They see her renewed interest and immediately jump back in, thinking they've won her over. But often she's not chasing you out of true desire. She's chasing you to restore her sense of control. If you fall right back into her pattern, you give her ego exactly what it wants and land right back where you started. The key is to maintain your emotional control even when her ego flares up. Don't be cold, but don't reward the ego with immediate access to you again. Let her prove her genuine interest first. Walking away isn't about playing games. It's about respecting yourself enough not to serve her ego at the expense of your own value. The man who knows how to walk away and stay away when necessary forces her to confront her own emotions, not just her pride. That's where real attraction has the chance to build. Number 6, scarcity turns you into the prize. One of the most powerful shifts that can happen in a woman's mind is when she begins to see you as the prize. And nothing triggers that shift faster than scarcity. When you become less available, not by playing manipulative games, but by genuinely living your life on your own terms, you automatically become more desirable. Most men don't realize just how powerful scarcity really is. They think being constantly present, always available, and ready to respond at any moment shows loyalty and commitment. But for many women, that constant access actually reduces the emotional value of the man. Offering it, what's always available feels common. What's scarce feels valuable. This isn't about manipulation, it's basic human psychology. We all place more value on what feels rare and difficult to obtain. When your time, your attention, and your emotional energy aren't given away freely to just anyone, you're signaling that you have standards, options, and self-respect. That alone shifts the way a woman views you. The problem is, most men give too much too soon. They overshare, they overpursue, and they overinvest before the woman has earned any of it. Instead of making her feel like she's won something precious, they make themselves feel like a guaranteed option. And that kills attraction because it removes any sense of tension or excitement. Scarcity doesn't mean being distant or rude. It simply means you don't hand over your attention and availability automatically. You require effort from her side as well. You create an environment where she has to invest to earn more of you, rather than receiving everything up front. When a woman senses that you're not always there, that you have other priorities, and that your life isn't revolving around her, it forces her to work harder to secure your attention. She starts to see you as a man who values himself highly, someone who isn't easy to win over. And that makes her desire your attention even more. This is exactly why some women become more attracted after a man steps back. Scarcity makes her realize their presence was never guaranteed, and losing it would mean losing something valuable. That realization deepens her emotional investment and often makes her chase you in ways she wouldn't if you were always readily available. For men, the lesson is simple. Stop giving away your energy for free. Let her feel your absence. Let her experience what life feels like without your attention constantly filling her emotional space. When she sees that you're not desperate for her approval, she begins to see you as the prize, not the pursuer. Scarcity isn't about playing hard to get. It's about living your life with purpose, confidence, and self-respect. When you do that, women naturally recognize your value. And the man who is perceived as valuable is always the one who holds the power. Number 7, her real investment begins after you leave. Most men are so focused on trying to make women invest while they're still chasing. They pour endless effort, attention, and energy up front, hoping that if they do enough, she finally gives something back. But that rarely happens. In fact, the majority of her real emotional investment doesn't start until you're no longer trying to win her over. This is where a lot of men need to wake up. You keep thinking that the more you give her, the more she appreciates you. But the truth is, as long as you're doing all the work, she has no reason to invest. She knows you're already fully in. There's no risk, no challenge, and no reason for her to step up. Women don't invest emotionally when they're being catered to. They invest when they feel the possibility of losing something valuable. When you walk away, when you stop trying to convince her, when you finally let go of the outcome, that's when the shift happens. Suddenly, she's the one questioning what she's losing. She starts replaying conversations, rethinking decisions, even feeling regret. The emotional energy she never gave you while you were available starts building after you leave. Many men never allow this process to happen because they refuse to let go. They stay trapped in endless conversations, checking in or waiting for her to make up her mind. But by doing that, you rob her of the chance to feel your absence. You keep the door wide open, making her feel like she doesn't need to put in any effort to keep you. The simple reality is this: your willingness to walk away creates the space for her to invest. It shows strength, confidence, and self-respect, all qualities that trigger genuine desire in women. If she values you, she will feel that loss and respond. If she doesn't, you've saved yourself from wasting more time on someone who was never serious about you. Men need to stop fearing the act of leaving. Walking away isn't giving up, it's setting a boundary. It's drawing a clear line between chasing and allowing her to step up. You're not punishing her, you're protecting your own value. When you finally walk away, you give her the opportunity to feel the weight of her decisions. And often that weight is what motivates her to finally invest in you, not because you begged, but because she chooses to. At the core of all, this is one reality most men don't want to accept. The moment a woman feels she has full control over you, she loses interest. But the moment she fears she's losing you, her desire often explodes. That's the part that makes this dynamic so controversial. Men are told to be kind, patient, and endlessly available. But very few understand that attraction is rooted in Tension, not comfort. The more she feels secure in your presence without having to invest, the less she values you. Yet the moment she senses you slipping away by your choice, her entire emotional response changes. This isn't about playing games. It's about understanding how power shifts in attraction. The man who can walk away creates the tension that forces her to choose him, not because he begged, but because she feels the weight of potentially losing him. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your experiences in the comments. Share what you've been through. Whether you've dealt with this exact situation or you're in it right now, I read through the comments personally and respond to as many as I can. Your story could help another man silently going through the same thing. We're not here just to talk. We're building men who finally understand how this game really works. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.